Welcome to No Sleep Frequency, the podcast where every story lingers long after the lights go out. Okay, let's unpack this.
We have been given a single, extremely detailed, and fundamentally unsettling piece of source material today. It's a comprehensive testimonial from a resident.
A resident living in a highly specific, very paradoxical community.
Exactly. And our mission here is to do a deep dive on the conditions, the consequences, and I think most importantly, the enforcement mechanisms of this unique social contract.
A contract that basically trades human curiosity for sustained, almost supernatural fortune. Right. It's an incredibly compelling scenario. It forces residents into this constant, uncanny trade-off. This isn't really a story about a curse, is it? It's a story about a highly functional blessing.
A very functional blessing, but the blessing is absolutely contingent on adhering to one extremely specific, non-negotiable nocturnal ritual.
It is, like the source says, the very real price of perpetual fortune. And we're here to dissect exactly how that payment system works.
And what happens when someone defaults? And I think we're less interested in the metaphysical nature of whatever entity is responsible and far more interested in the social engineering aspect of it all.
Yeah, the human systems.
We're looking critically at the conditions that allow this unnatural, persistent prosperity to flourish, the precise mechanisms of enforcement that keep the population compliant.
And the devastating customized consequences when that contract is violated.
It's a profound study in conditional compliance under duress. It really is.
And what immediately jumps out at you are the two foundational oddities of this neighborhood, which are, they're completely inseparable.
Okay.
First, you have this phenomenon of extreme generalized good fortune, what the narrator's mother just perfectly describes as a million little blessings.
A million little blessings. I love that phrase.
It's perfect. And second, you have the constant low-grade source of both terror and curiosity. The presence of the nightly visitor, which the residents simply call the Whistler.
And that sets the entire stage. It's an arrangement that is eerie, functional, and terrifying all at once. If you're going to enforce a contract that requires absolute lifelong adherence, the reward can't be a one-time thing.
No, absolutely not.
It has to be woven into the very fabric of daily reality.
So let's start there. Let's establish that essential baseline of generalized good fortune. The luck here isn't speculative, it's pervasive. It's become the assumed gravitational reality of living in this specific area.
It's not just a nice place to live with, low HOA fees.
Right.
It is a place where the laws of probability seem to have been subtly but decisively bent in favor of the residents.
And the source material gives these wonderful small anecdotal examples that when you stack them all together, they illustrate this idea of pervasive low-level prosperity.
Yeah, it's not about finding a treasure chest in your backyard.
No.
It's about consistent, favorable outcomes that slowly improve your quality of life without, drawing too much external attention.
Think about the examples given. Winning radio contests. That's a consistent streak of low-stakes probability just tilting their way.
Or the unexpected promotions at work. That points to a kind of economic stability that comes without the expected struggle.
And the low crime rates, the consistently good weather. It's like a generalized protective bubble that surrounds the entire community. It suggests a local reality where minor hardships are just filtered out.
And this is a crucial detail. The luck isn't always huge, but it is always there. It's reliable. The narrator mentions that everybody's gardens bloom extra bright in the fall. That suggests that even the biological world, the local ecosystem, is enhanced by this presence.
That's such a weirdly specific detail, isn't it? The idea that a neighborhood collectively experiences greener grass on longer-lasting flowers is subtly manipulative.
How so?
Well, it makes the place feel inherently healthier, inherently better, and because of that, worth protecting at any cost.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. My favorite detail, though, that illustrates this low-level continuous fortune.
Let me guess. The arrowheads.
The arrowheads. Finding authentic arrowheads buried in the yard.
It's so specific.
It's such a whimsical marker of a place where small, unexpected treasures just appear out of the ground. It's a gift that requires no effort, just proximity.
It just reinforces the power of the mother's phrase, doesn't it?
A million little blessings.
It's the aggregation of all these small miracles that makes the neighborhood irresistible.
And that generalized atmosphere of fortune is the collective reward for compliance. But for the narrator's family, the stakes were far beyond a vibrant garden, or a quick promotion.
Oh, way beyond.
The source establishes immediately that this is not just about material comfort. For them, it's about a specific, vital, existential reason for their compliance.
Nola.
The life and health of Nola, the narrator's younger sister.
Yeah, Nola was born critically sick. The description is harrowing severe lung issues requiring machines just to breathe, basically unable to leave the hospital.
So the family's initial move to the area was purely logistical. They weren't seeking this out. They just needed to be closer to a specialized medical facility.
They were anticipating a long, difficult, and, maybe a tragic medical battle.
But the immediate, miraculous reversal of her condition upon moving to this specific neighborhood is the core anchor that locks them into this contract permanently.
The doctors, they're grounded in medical science, so they were completely confused by the sudden improvement. They attributed it to their own care, which is,
The expected rationalization.
of course. But the family, having just received the contract instructions, they knew the truth.
Nola getting better was a direct, irrefutable result of the blessings associated with the location.
That is the ultimate trade-off. It elevates compliance from a matter of convenience to a matter of life and death.
Absolutely. If the neighborhood contract is broken, the single most important source of their fortune, Nola's life, is instantly placed in jeopardy.
So for them, the stakes are so high that any required secrecy, any fear, any self-restraint is justified. It makes the father's subsequent actions, which we'll get into, seem entirely rational within their new reality.
Which brings us directly to the mechanism that embodies the contract, the constant reminder of the price being paid.
The whistler.
The whistler. This sound is quiet, it's precise, and it enforces the rules simply by maintaining a fixed, absolute nightly pattern. It is the metronome of their conditional prosperity.
Let's talk about the timing, because its mechanical precision is just chilling.
Okay.
It starts exactly at 3:03 a.m., and it ends at the tick of 3:05 a.m. 2 minutes. Every single night, regardless of weather, time of year, or any human conditions.
That absolute unwavering precision suggests an immutable routine. It's a mandate that's completely detached from the typical randomness or variation of human behavior. It's like a natural law of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and the uniformity is unsettling, but so is the sound itself. It's soft, always the same, and described with the single most unnerving adjective I can think of.
Cheerful.
Cheerful. The specific, simple tune, da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-dum, is just ingrained into the residents' memories.
It's this persistent, predictable, yet fundamentally unsettling cheerfulness that accompanies the nightly transaction of fortune. It sounds like someone taking a leisurely stroll,
Yeah.
unaware they're generating dread and prosperity at the same time.
And the residents have, through necessity, they've meticulously mapped its path. It starts faintly near the Carson place, which is presumably the entry point to the street,
It moves past the narrator's house, right there in the middle of the street.
and then fades away in the direction of the cul-de-sac.
Mm.
This means they can track its presence and gauge the precise 2-minute duration of the risk period without ever needing to look.
The routine becomes a predictable internal safety clock, but what's particularly fascinating is the selectivity of the aural range.
Oh, this part is so interesting.
The narrator notes that when they were younger, they could only hear it clearly from the living room or the kitchen, communal spaces.
Right. But the moment the narrator enters the parents' room during the incident,
They realize they hear the sound clearly from there. This confirms the parents must have heard this unnerving, cheerful sound every single night, directly in their personal space.
that distinction is a key data point for understanding the burden of the contract. It suggests that the phenomenon either limits its acoustic reach to spare the non-responsible parties, the children, or,
More like,
more likely, that those who shoulder the full burden of the contract, those who actively maintain the security and the knowledge, are subject to a wider, more intrusive sensory experience.
the parents carry the full, persistent, nightly reality of the whistler's presence. They absorb the psychological cost so the children don't have to fully internalize it.
It's a heavy weight to carry every single night for years.
If the whistler is the mechanism for the blessing, then the entire social contract is built upon one single, absolute, non-negotiable negation.
The big rule.
The big rule. Don't try to look at whatever was whistling. That is the foundational command of the entire community, the condition sine qua non for their continued prosperity. Break this, and the entire edifice of luck just collapses.
And the penalty is not subtle. It's immediate, catastrophic, and terrifyingly specific. It is not just about losing the generalized good luck of the neighborhood.
No, the source says the luck doesn't just dissipate, it changes tragically and violently.
If you look, a black cloud descends, resulting in freak accidents, car crashes, public deaths. It's an immediate targeted reversal of that protective atmospheric bubble the neighborhood usually enjoys, focused solely on the violator.
But maybe the most profound consequence, and one we really need to spend some time analyzing, is the psychological and existential damage.
Right.
The source notes that not everyone dies, but even those who survive suffer a kind of psychic devastation. The life goes out of them, leaving no light, no presence.
This is a critical insight. The enforcement mechanism isn't just delivering bad luck or physical injury. It is delivering a form of targeted psychic lobotomy.
A psychic lobotomy. That's a perfect way to put it. The entity, whatever it is, seems to recognize and punish the innate human trait that led to the transgression in the first place.
Curiosity.
Curiosity, the desire for forbidden knowledge, the need to know the why.
So by stripping them of their light or presence, it eliminates the very aspect of their personality that challenged the rule. They become functionally compliant because the part of them capable of curiosity has been, destroyed.
Exactly, it's chilling. And this level of specific existential risk requires a fail-safe mechanism for onboarding new residents.
Which is why the Welcoming Committee is such a masterpiece of dark social engineering.
They function as the highly organized guardians of the social contract, ensuring the community's safety through rapid, informed, high-pressure consent.
And they arrive under the perfect guise of neighborly warmth, the macaroni casserole and the gift basket. It's the classic, comforting, small-town welcome.
But then, there is the crucial, non-negotiable element, the manila folder. They are presenting the cost up front, creating an immediate psychological contrast between community acceptance and existential terror.
And this folder isn't just a threat, it's an informational shock and awe tactic. It holds verifiable, documented evidence. Newspaper clippings about car crashes, detailed accounts of public deaths, stories of ruined lives, the tragic outcomes of those who looked.
So by providing immediate hard copy proof, they short-circuit any natural skepticism. It establishes the sincerity and severity of the warning in a way that mere rumor could never achieve.
The message is clear. We welcome you, but we also prove to you that your life is forfeited if you disobey.
That dual approach, the warmth and the verifiable documentation, is what makes it so brutally effective.
It satisfies the social need to belong while simultaneously triggering the core fear of death and public disgrace. You can't write it off as an old wives' tale when you're looking at a copy of the obituary.
And we see this pressure immediately reflected in the parents' divergent reactions. The mother, representing standard social skepticism, she initially views it through a lens of conventional human conflict.
Right. She thinks it's a prank or maybe even a veiled accusation of racism because the father is from the islands. She's trying to fit the bizarre into a rational human framework.
But the father, who grew up hearing island stories, he immediately accepts the warning as necessary truth.
He's able to contextualize the phenomenon outside of that Western rational framework.
He recognizes that there are things that are good, things that are bad, and things that are simply different strange things that require a particular kind of respect and adherence.
And his immediate acceptance completely overrides the mother's skepticism, and he immediately takes action.
That acceptance translates into the critical physical safeguards installed that very first night. This is not casual security. This is total paranoid fortification against internal curiosity.
He goes out and installs thick, heavy canvas shutters on every single window in the house. This is a commitment to sightless living.
And the detailing of the lock mechanism is key to understanding the psychological commitment. The shutters pull down, they latch to the bottom of the window frame.
That are secured with a small, diary-sized lock. I find that detail so unsettling.
Me too. That tiny, almost inadequate lock designed to guard teen secrets is now securing his family against an existential threat.
It emphasizes the hierarchy of safety and control. The key is held by the father, emphasizing parental control over curiosity and ultimately the contract's compliance.
These locks are a physical manifestation of the rigid mental constraint required to survive in this neighborhood. It's an acknowledgement that human curiosity is the only real weakness in the system.
And that weakness must be physically, literally, locked away.
And for 7 years, that system worked perfectly, fueled by the father's vigilance and the children's internalized fear.
And the result was stability, health Nola's life, and the return to the predictable flow of a million little blessings.
The problem with any perfect system, though, is that it rarely accounts for external, uncontrolled variables.
And the flaw arrives 7 years later.
In the form of Holden, the neighbor's 12-year-old son staying over for the night. Holden has not internalized the necessary existential fear of the Whistler. He represents pure skepticism coupled with morbid curiosity.
He is the catalyst for disaster because he operates entirely on conventional logic. He has this profound need to rationalize the inexplicable.
He immediately fixates on the identity of the Whistler, speculating it must be a weirdo like Mr. Tolles or a psycho killer. He's trying to frame the phenomenon using familiar human threats.
A serial killer, an eccentric neighbor.
He fundamentally misses the point of the contract. He refuses to accept the premise that the Whistler is merely different, not necessarily good or bad, but absolutely untouchable.
And his desire to give it a human name and motive makes him dangerous to the entire block, because if it's human, it can be stopped.
Or at least looked at.
Exactly. And here's the subtle but devastating operational weakness.
Yeah.
The father's comfort.
Right. Ironically, 7 years of successful compliance had led to a lapse in security protocol.
He assumed the threat was mitigated by the established trust and obedience of his own children, not realizing that trust is useless when you're dealing with a foreign, curious outsider.
And this specific lax is what enabled the breach. The father had stopped physically hiding the key. He was keeping it openly on his normal keychain on the nightstand.
The assumption that his children took the rule seriously trumped the need for physical secrecy. And Holden, who was watching closely, recognized this operational weakness instantly.
Vigilance decays with successful long-term outcomes. It's a common human failing.
So Holden executes a calculated and premeditated breach of security. He manages to borrow the key under the pretense of using the bathroom before the parents went to bed.
Which shows an astonishing level of focus and a calculated deception aimed at violating the one rule the neighborhood is built upon. He wasn't thinking about the consequences.
No, he was only thinking about the mechanism. He wanted to see.
And the tension culminates precisely as the mechanical clock hits 3:03 a.m. The narrator, sensing something is wrong, goes to investigate. But before they can even reach the living room, they have that chilling realization.
They can hear the whistling clearly from the parents' room.
It's that moment of confirmation. The parents endure this unnerving, cheerful sound every single night in the space meant for rest and security. They had carried that acoustic burden silently for 7 years.
But that revelation is quickly overshadowed by the crisis. Holden wasn't lying. He had the key, and he was fumbling with the lock.
The whistling was already right outside the house, beginning its 2-minute procession. That window represents the single point of failure in their 7 years of careful fortification.
And in that frozen moment, the narrator makes two critical, reflexive, instinctive defensive moves that preserve the integrity of the contract for Nola and themselves.
They jam their own eyes shut, refusing the sight, and they pivot Nola away from the window.
These actions are purely instinctive, prioritizing the health of the sister and adherence to the rule over curiosity or even self-preservation. It is a moment of absolute ingrained training taking over.
And the whistling stops immediately. The second the canvas blind snaps open, the transgression has been recognized, recorded, and the entity has ceased its routine.
The moment the violation is complete, the consequences are instantaneous, they're visceral, and they are devastatingly personalized to Holden.
When the narrator finally risks opening their eyes, the shock has already done its work. Holden is shaking worse than Nola ever has. He is completely pale.
And he exhibits immediate physical trauma. He bit his lip so hard there's a thin red line of blood, and he wet himself.
Whatever he saw, however brief the exposure, was sufficient to cause instantaneous psychological and physical collapse.
He definitely didn't see a weirdo or a psycho killer. He saw something that shattered his conventional understanding of reality, something that communicated fundamental horror instantly.
When he turns and screams, the parents rush in, and we get the most chilling piece of dialogue in the entire source.
The father's initial reaction is just pure, ugly terror. He knows exactly what this means for the family's luck, for Nola's health, but he quickly assesses the damage and asks the key question.
Just Holden.
Just Holden. And upon confirmation, he expresses this overwhelming relief that only the outsider looked.
Let's pause on that specific moment. The father's reaction, it's incredibly cold, isn't it?
It is.
Is this relief born out of genuine selfishness, or is it a calculated response to the reality of the social contract he's maintained for 7 years?
I think you have to look at it through the lens of absolute existential prioritization. When Nola's life is the stake, there's just no room for conventional morality.
So the father's relief is the functional acknowledgement that the contract violation was localized and contained. It's brutal, but in the context of this neighborhood, it's the only rational response.
I think so. Holden is a known variable now, a damaged commodity, but their primary blessing, Nola, is still intact.
The retaliation begins almost instantly, and it's driven not by violence, but by terror. The knocking starts politely, then escalates to a loud, door-rattling thud.
The enforcement mechanism has confirmed the transgression and is now making its presence known, demanding some kind of resolution.
And the escalation is highly analytical. It's almost like the entity is testing their defenses. When the mother whispers to the father, "Call the police,"
The knocking instantly stops.
which shows immediate non-human awareness of their internal conversation and the human defense strategy being proposed.
And this leads to the most sophisticated moment of psychological warfare in the whole story.
The voice mimicry.
The chilling tactic of voice mimicry. The knocking ceases, and a voice from outside perfectly replicates the mother's, repeating her words back but slightly distorted.
Police. Call the police.
That is a deeply, profoundly unsettling strike. It instantly mocks their conventional defense mechanism.
And as the father correctly analyzes, it negates the one external safety mechanism, the authority of the police, by co-opting their call sign. How will we know when they're the ones at the door?
The entity has successfully isolated the family. It's demonstrating that no outside help can be trusted or relied upon. They have to rely only on the contract now.
And once conventional defenses are rendered useless, the siege reaches a crescendo. The attack shifts from the front door to the back, then simultaneously from both, using big, heavy blows like a sledgehammer.
Then sounds start rapping against all the windows and walls. This is a deliberate multi-source attack designed to induce maximum sensory overload and panic.
The narrator's description of the feeling is so vivid, living inside a drum or being a turtle desperately trying to claw its way out of its shell.
It's an auditory assault designed to shatter their sense of internal safety. They aren't trying to physically breach the house. They are trying to break the mind by proving that the interior of the house offers zero protection, that the fear is inescapable.
It's an auditory stress test, proving that even with the locks and the shutters, the entity can touch them, surround them, and deny them peace. They have to endure total exposure to the reality of the violation.
But the key data point that stops the noise is not the parents' attempts at defense or negotiation. It's Holden's desperate plea.
He breaks under the pressure. "Stop, P. I won't tell. I promise I won't tell anyone what I saw. Just please go away."
It's a direct, emotional appeal from the violator. He's acknowledging the transgression, proving the psychological damage has been done, and begging for mercy.
And the loud sounds die immediately. It confirms that the entity was listening to the content of the conversation and was satisfied with Holden's broken admission. But the punishment isn't over.
No, not at all. It's replaced by a soft, persistent, and highly personalized form of psychological torture.
A tap, tap, tap coming only from the specific window Holden had looked through earlier.
This shift from a generalized siege to a personalized tapping is the final chilling touch. The entity is establishing its dominance and tailoring the consequence. The tapping continues relentlessly until sunrise around 7 a.m.
It's localized, ensuring only Holden and those immediately next to him are denied rest or solace. It's a personalized, persistent reminder of the violated contract, an acoustic shadow marking the specific site of the transgression.
The long-term cost of this single brief violation becomes grimly clear just a few days later.
The quick, hasty departure of Holden and his family. A moving truck arrives by Thursday, signaling an absolute, unceremonious retreat from the neighborhood and the contract.
But the truly devastating part is the description of their appearance as they leave. All three of them, Holden, his mother, and his father, shared the same grim pallor, the exhaustion.
And the most crucial visual marker, lightless eyes.
The visible existential cost made manifest in the entire family unit. The original welcoming committee warning stated that even survivors lose their presence and the life goes out of them. This is the prophecy fulfilled.
And this appearance leads us to the crucial expert implication here. Holden's parents must have looked as well.
You think so?
It seems highly probable, given the description of the shared condition. They must have looked either to comfort their violently traumatized son, trying to share his burden, or maybe out of disbelief during the siege, trying to see the source of the noise.
Regardless of why, the curse, or whatever it is, appears to be transferable. or at least shared among loved ones in immediate proximity.
Which means the enforcement mechanism is even more sophisticated than we initially thought. It doesn't just punish the individual violator, it punishes the support structure around them.
So if the entire family suffers the existential loss of light, then they're all facing the predicted million little tragedies that come from that black cloud of misfortune.
It ensures that even if one family member is skeptical, the pain is shared, maximizing the pressure to leave and thus preserving the neighborhood's clean compliance record.
The contrast with the narrator's family is just so stark.
They stay.
They stay. Because the blessings, specifically Nola's life-saving health, are too profound, too good to give up. The functional reality of the good fortune outweighs the profound fear generated by the nightly ritual and the recent trauma.
The contract endures because the reward is absolute existential survival.
And the immediate result of the incident is the instant renewal and reinforcement of the security measures. The father's lapse in vigilance is immediately corrected.
The father now hides the key very, very well.
The cost of comfort and trust was too high, and the family returns to a state of absolute, necessary paranoia. The lesson learned is that security is not a matter of trust, but a matter of physical, locked reinforcement against the inevitable weakness of human curiosity.
This renewed vigilance highlights the narrator's final philosophical reflection on the personal decision to avoid forbidden knowledge. They admit their own fear, but they also pose that horrifying hypothetical scenario.
Would they have looked if Nola had been the one who was fumbling with the blame?
It's the contemplation of sacrificial love versus functional safety, and whether one could bear that existential burden for the life of a loved one.
And that question just haunts the closing of the story. The narrator ultimately chooses functional safety. Their final conclusion is the key takeaway of this whole deep dive.
Some things you just don't need to look for.
They choose health, prosperity, and the continuity of life over the dangerous, potentially soul-destroying acquisition of forbidden knowledge.
So if we connect this detailed source material back to our core theme of trade-offs and applied knowledge, this deep dive shows us a structure where prosperity is entirely conditional. It's maintained by the constant, conscious denial of one's innate curiosity. The enforcement is rapid, highly tailored, and targets not just the body or property, but the psychological core and the social unit. The price of the blessing is absolute, sightless, silent compliance.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The key takeaway for me is the fragility of this specific form of prosperity. The neighborhood's luck is a meticulously maintained, fragile state requiring total self-censorship.
And the moment that denial lapses,
The enforcement mechanism transitions instantly. It goes from background maintenance, that cheerful whistle, to brutal, tailored psychological and auditory warfare designed specifically to attack the mind and isolate the family. It is a perfectly designed system of conditional terror.
which raises an important question for you, the listener, as you navigate your own life and the contracts you adhere to, known or unknown.
Right.
If you knew that adhering to one absolute rule, never looking outside at 3:03 a.m., guaranteed the health of your loved ones and perpetual minor prosperity, would you immediately install the locks? Or would the constant, unsettling, cheerful whistling eventually make you question what exactly you were paying for by trading your curiosity for fortune?
So, what does this all mean? We've taken this stack of sources and extracted the most important nuggets of insight for you. Thank you for sharing this incredible testimonial and joining us for the deep dives.
If this story stayed with you, let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like the episode and subscribe to No Sleep Frequency for more stories that refuse to let you sleep.